Hello, my name is Doug Leisure, and I wanted to record this video to show you the steps that you would need to go through if you are starting to use my 2025 version of my donation software and you have been using it previously. That is, you have an older version. So therefore you would have some data that you want to migrate from your older version into the new 2025 version. So now I'll be showing you the steps of doing that. But to be fair, I'm going to be going, you'll see I'm going from a 2025 version to a new 2025 version. Don't let that bother you. The concepts that I'm going to show you apply whether you're coming from a recent version or a really old version. And part of the reason I have to do it this way is I have no idea what version you might be coming from. I started this software clear back in 2013, and I've been giving it to churches ever since that time. I've given it to more than 1,500 churches now around the world. So I actually have no idea what version you might be coming from moving into the new 2025. The version 2025 will have the ability to record your donations and make your donor receipts at the end of the year, and that functionality has been in there from the very beginning. So the idea of having donors and parameters to customize or adjust the software to work the way you want it to, that's always been there, and so that's definitely part of the functionality we need to move from your older version into the new version. For some of the folks that are using newer versions of the software, very recent versions, you also then have the capability of optionally tracking your expenses and creating an income versus expense type of a report, as well as a report that shows your account balances. So whether you have credit card accounts or bank accounts, we can track those balances in the new version. And so we'll need to talk about moving historical data, if necessary, from your old version of on the expense part of it over into the new version. So I'm going to try to cover all of that and do it in a way that will work for you, whether you're on a really old version or a more recent version. Okay, so what we will do is we're going to start by opening your old version. And so this might be something that you do early in January when you've just simply when you've completed the last donation. Let's say for 2024, I've done my last donation for 2024. I've printed my donor receipts, and I'm done. So now I'm ready to get the new 2025 version ready to begin using in January. Okay, so let's go through the steps of doing that. So again, we're going to start with the old version because that's where I have my list of donors, and that's also where I have any history from the old version, history that I want to migrate over. So let's walk our way through it. So what I think is the best route is to move the information we need out of the old version, but not going from old to new, but actually going from old into a new blank Excel file. So we're gonna kind of step our way into it, out of the old into an empty Excel file, from that Excel file over to the new version. Okay, so let's do that. Let's walk our way through that. So we're going to start with File and New. We're going to just simply say that we want a new blank worksheet, so totally empty. All right, and then I like to kind of just adjust the width of the program. So I have basically two Excel files, one on the left, one on the right. On the right we have our current or our old version. On the left we have the empty Excel file. Okay, so we definitely need to move all of our donor information over. Now, when I gave you the software, you only had a few columns in it, but some churches have extended the columns or the information available in their donor list. They've added their own items. And so like in this case, we can see where the phone number and maybe the family relationship are the kinds of things that have been added. So when we copy it over, we need to include not just simply what what I have given you, but also if you've added other things, we need to include those. So we're gonna highlight everything from column A to column, in this case H, because that's where the last piece of data is. And we'll just right click and say copy. Come over to the blank one, and then we'll do our right click and paste. Now when you do the normal paste, okay, Excel puts the information there, the cell formatting, cell formulas. However, it does it in a way that it still contains a link back to that original Excel file, and we do not want that. As we move the data into the new version, we don't want any remnants, any linkages back to the original file. We just want the data moved over. So the trick we use is after doing the normal paste, we'll do a paste values. Paste values. And so now the data is in there, but it's in there basically as if we had typed it manually. But it does preserve cell formatting, so there's an advantage to that. Okay, so that is our donor information. The other thing that we know we need to move over would be the parameter information. So let me go ahead and add another sheet. Come back here and go to our parameters. Okay, and I'm going to use the same kind of a technique. So we're just going to grab the top of our parameter list down through, if you're on the older version, you'll go down through the donation categories. Because I'm going 2025 to 2025, I also have some bank and credit card account information, so I'll include that, but you probably don't have that in your version. Not a big deal. So we'll just do the same thing. Copy it, come over here to our blank Excel file, and we'll do the double paste. Normal paste, that includes the formatting, but unfortunately includes the linkage to the old file. So we'll do it again, right click and do paste values. So now everything that is in here as a paste is pasted in a way that Excel believes that you were just typed it in manually. So the data is there as if you typed it in. Okay, and we'll just make it a little bit wider so we can read it. Now the interesting thing about using Microsoft Excel, and one of the major reasons that I've chosen to use that as the methodology of creating this tool for you, is that there is an almost unlimited amount of support available, free support available for this tool. Almost an unlimited number of websites and videos. Yes, we know that about 750 million people throughout the world are familiar and use Microsoft Excel. So there's a lot of knowledge already out there. And so I'm hoping that you are very comfortable with this idea of copying and pasting within Microsoft Excel. If not, again, unlimited resources available, free resources available. Go find a video on copying and pasting data within Excel, and it'll give you very easily give you lots of information on that if you're not comfortable with it. Okay, let's see. So we have our parameters, we have our donors. So the only other thing we would not want to think about would be historical information. So here's where we're going to talk about it in two different ways. If I am starting at the beginning of the year, the only information I need to bring over then from last year or prior years, because some of you have been using it for many, many years, so you have lots of history. But the only thing I need to bring over would be the annual totals, the year-end amounts. That's all I really need. Now, fortunately, I've already given that to you. Well, I'm sorry. Again, in the newer versions, I've given you a tab here that has those year-end amounts in total for previous years. And so if you have that, yeah, so if you have the one of the newer versions, then you'll have this 5-year comparison, and this is where we want to pull the data from because it already has the totals across multiple years. So let's go ahead and do this. So in the company, sorry, the church that we're working in, it just has 3 categories, and then there's special offerings, 3 donation categories, and there's special offerings. Now the particular version that I'm using, this church also has the optional in-kind donations, but or some people call those non-cash donations. But again, the idea is that what I want to grab would be the year and our standard categories. Forget the specials for a second. So I want to copy those 3 years of information, the historical information. I want to copy that over. So I'm going to do a copy, and there's not very much here. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw it here along with our our donor information. So we'll just paste it here. Same thing. We'll do the paste followed by the paste values. Okay. So that gives us our year-end amounts for 2024, 2023, 2022. Now, if you are on one of the really old versions, then you won't have a 5-year comparison, but you will still have a report that has this total line here. Okay, so same thing, we'd want to just simply take this, copy it, bring it over here, do the double paste values, and then this is our 2024 total. Okay, so a little bit odd that you did that to me, Microsoft, but let's format that as a just a standard number. There we go, that'll work. Okay. All right, so so if you don't have the 5-year comparison, you can still go back to older versions and get the year-end amount. Okay. Or again, just to be kind of blunt, there's not very much information here. You might want to just write this down on a piece of paper because we're only talking about, you know, a dozen numbers at the most. So you might want to just write it down manually. Okay, we did the 3 categories plus the years, but we did not do the special offerings. So in this case, because I do have in-kind donations, we will include, let's get to the 5-year comparison. Because this version has the in-kind donations, we'll pull that over as well, except that, wait a minute, I don't have any, for the prior years, I don't have any in-kind donations, so forget that. We'll take the, you know what I do need, so sorry. Let's move this down. We do want to have a copy of the titles, the column headers. So let's drop those in here too. All right, and then we'll do the special donations. Now, I would say you might want to leave a blank space because we're going to paste them. We're going to paste your current categories first, separate from specials or in-kind donations. So leave a space because we'll actually paste it twice. So let's pick up the specials, copy, drop that in here by doing the paste and paste special, grab the values from the previous years, okay, so that gives us our history. And again, what we're talking about here is I'm starting fresh from January. So the only history I need to bring over from prior years are just these year-end totals. Now, if I'm in a situation where I just got the 2025 version and I'm partway through the year. So let's say we are in early June, or maybe the very end of May, and that's when I got the new 2025 version. So as I'm ready to begin, as I'm ready to start using it, I need to bring over not only these annual amounts, these year-end totals for prior years, but I would need to bring over detail information for the current year. So let's take a look at what that would look like. So I am going to suggest that we add one more tab, and we'll use this then for the that detail data. So let's go to our annual tab, and yes, I have data down through the end of May 2025. All right, so let's go to the top. Same kind of an idea. We have some column headers. So, and this is where it will vary for you considerably. Okay, so whatever column headers we have here. So in this version, we'll go out through column AI. So we'll grab that, bring it over here. We'll do that same paste and paste values. Okay, and so the number of categories you're using will be the ones that we filled in, and then the blank ones from 1, 4, 5, 6, etc. out through 20. Those will be pasted in here, but we just won't use them. All right, now let's go back to our 2025 data. Again, we need to bring over the current year in detail. So let's just go ahead and scroll down here through until we start our January 2025. This is the detail that we need to bring over. Okay, so in this case, January down through the end of May. And that was out through. And what I'm doing here is I'm holding down the shift key while I use the arrows. You can click your mouse and drag. It works the same way, but I just find this to be, I feel like I have a little more control using the arrow keys. So holding down the shift, and as I hit the down arrow, the right arrow, it's highlighting or selecting those cells. All right, now that I've selected the data I want, out through column AI, I will right click and do a copy. Come over here to row 2. This is where we will do our paste and then our paste special values. Okay, so what we see is that we have our January data through the end of May. We have our 3 categories that we're using and lots of categories that we are not using until we get out here then to our specials and optionally the in-kind donations. Okay, so that gives us all of our history that we need to move over in detail, as well as our history that we need to move over just simply as year-end totals. All right, we're going to do one last thing here, and that would be if you are using one of the newer versions where you are tracking your expenses as well. Okay, so if you're doing donations only, please ignore this part. I'm going to add one more tab, and this will be for our expenses. All right, let's jump over here to our expenses. This is where we enter the detail of our expense transactions, and it'll include deposits, our income as well. Now, I am in the new version here. You will not have this first column where we have a list of the accounts, bank accounts or checking accounts that we're using for the various transactions. You will not have that. So your column A will start here with the check number or the deposit. So same idea, we want to go backwards in time till we find the beginning of our 2025 data. We will not need to bring over any annual amounts or year-end amounts for 2024 and earlier, because we will be displaying our income and expense for 2025 and beyond. We will be displaying our balance information for our accounts. We'll be doing an opening balance for 2025 and then calculating our current balance for 2025. So we don't need old data, we just need current data. So again, this is a situation where I've already started entering some expenses in year 2025, so I want to bring those over so that I can then calculate a correct current balance for year 2025. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, we're going to have data, that your data will start in column, it'll be column A, but it'll be this check number deposit. That's what we're going to bring over. All right, so here's where the data begins. And again, I'm going to use that shift down arrow. Okay, we'll just go down through our current entry for our transactions, deposits, and payments. Okay, and again, the in-kind, the comments, these columns may not exist in your version. That's okay. So we'll copy that and we'll bring it over. And here's where I'm going to suggest that you actually start in column B and do the paste and paste values. You know what I didn't bring over? I didn't bring over the column headers. Let's do that just to help keep us oriented. Let's insert a new row here and go get our column headers. Paste and paste values. So that's our column headers to help us keep everything oriented. Okay, and again, this part is optional depending on what version you're coming from, or if you're one of the many churches that just chose to do donations only, you won't have this part, so you can ignore that. But what this has done is it's given us in a separate standard normal Excel file a copy of all of the information that we need to move into the new version. So now we're ready to just simply shut down the old version. Do you want to save your changes? No, I didn't modify anything. I really just copied data out of it. Excel thought we made changes because of the copying and pasting technique that we're using. Excel thought we modified it, but we didn't. So we're just going to say don't save. And now what we'll do is we'll go to the new version. So as I've said many times in my different videos, when you are installing this, you will probably want to put it into its own separate folder, typically on your local drive on your PC or your Macintosh. I think once you get it there, you want to change the name that I sent you and rename it so that it has typically your church name as part of the Excel file name. So in this case, we call it ABC Church, kind of a generic thing, and we marked it as our master donation and expenses file. So ABC Church, master donation and expenses. So this is my blank empty one. So I will open that up. Okay, first time it was opened, it said, hey, I see there's macros in there. I've currently disabled them, but you can enable the macros if you want to start using the macros, and we do. Okay, so this is the very first time I've opened this one. First time opening it, so enter your donors and modify the parameters, then run this this menu item here, adjust the tabs from the parameters. What's my donation date? No, I'm not doing a donation. I'm just trying to get the software set up. Okay, so I mentioned it said go to the donation software menu and run this item, this menu item after you've done your donors and your parameters. Okay, so donors, we brought that over from the other version, from the older one. So let's go back here and grab that. So I'm not going to take the top here because I already have column headers here. Now I don't have these two yet. So let's go ahead and take the two additional ones. We'll copy it. And I am always going, when I go from here, the data here, into here, I am always going to consistently use paste values, always. So we'll copy this, come over here and paste values. Now this is the one case where I do want to kind of use the same formatting that I used in the rest of the the donor tab here. So let me show you how you can very easily do that. Pick one of these ones and use what's called the format painter, this little paintbrush. When I click on it, it copies this format, and see how the mouse pointer is this little funny thing with a paintbrush. As I click and drag over top of those cells, it applies the same format to those cells. Okay, so that gets all of the headers, including any additional ones that you might have used. Now we need to go get our recipients. We're going to get our recipients starting with our first donor number out through the email address. I'm not going to include this column for printing receipts, yes or no. We're going to ignore that for now. We're just going to get basically it's the foundational information that we need for our donors: donor number, donor name, address, and email address. Copy that back here. Now these ones are in there as samples, so we're just going to blast our good stuff over top of these samples by doing a copy paste values. Okay, and so now we have our donors here. What we don't have are the yes, no, and that's because in the newest versions this is really not the word yes, the word no, but it's a drop down so that you can choose yes, no, PDF or email. These are your options. Okay, so we want to extend that not just yes, no, but the drop down capability. We want to extend that to all of our donors. So if we go to the last one here, When you click on it once, you'll see it highlights it with this green line around it. But the important thing is down here in the lower right hand corner, that little green dot. As I move my mouse over top of it, my cursor, my pointer changes to a different kind of a plus sign. And this is Excel's way of making it very easy for you to copy and paste or actually to extend that same cell functionality format, and in this case drop down capability, down to other cells. As you drag down, it's copying not only that value no, but the drop down capability is being populated as well. So that's just an easy way to extend it. And by the way, as you add more donors, you will need to come back and do that same kind of a thing. Okay. Yes, I could have done the standard copy and paste. Not paste values, the regular normal paste. That also copies the drop down capability. So either way, the dot, the green, the square dot, or copy and paste, the regular standard copy paste. Either one would extend the drop down capability. Okay, in my case, I want to go back and pick up the yes, no as I had it in my previous version to go along with the individual donors. Diana, yes. Natalie, yes. Eliana, yes. Emmy, make a PDF file. Loose offering, no, don't bother. For Dylan, try to email it. But again, depending on your older versions, you wouldn't have email. You would just probably have yeses and nos. So we want to grab that and any additional information you had that you put in, any additional columns. We're going to copy that. We'll come over here and we're going to paste. I know it seems weird, but we're going to paste values over top of these drop downs as well as your additional columns. So paste values. And so that will populate it with a yes or a no, but it will do it in a way that we maintain the drop down capability. So that later on, if we want to adjust Diane and say, no, she says she doesn't need a receipt, we can just very easily do that using the drop down list. Okay, that gives us our donors. We're done with that. Let's move on to the parameters. Okay, now the parameters are probably very likely going to be in a different order for you. Okay, so you just kind of have to walk your way down through the parameters and find the information from your old version, or you can go ahead and just set it up manually by typing it in. Okay, so we know that we need our church name and address. Copy that, come over here, and again paste values. All right, a lot of the parameters that we use are using drop-down lists, so probably very easy for you to just simply go down through the list of parameters and see how you set it in the old version, and then just mimic that over here. When you come to some of these things where you type in a value, right? How many copies do I want to print? You could just type in the number 2 or the number 3, or if you need 3 copies, or leave it at number 1 if you only want 1 copy. Some of the things that we definitely need to bring over would be if you're using a separate folder to save that backup copy of your donations or the PDF files, that would be under receipts, the folder name for your PDF files. These are some of the things you might want to bring over from the old version. Any of the customization you did for the receipt footers, bring that over. So let's find that receipt footer. Let's bring that over, and again paste values. The the things you'll want to do will be the footer for the monthly report. The monthly report footer submitted by, we'll bring that over. Paste values. Okay, very important things would be to bring over your categories. How many categories are you using? And what are the names of your categories? So we'll copy that over, paste values. All right, and again, you very likely will not have the accounts, bank accounts, credit card type accounts in your old version, so you will need to type these in manually. Now I'm going to cheat because just because I have them available. So Visa, PayPal, and Venmo are the ones we have in addition to our checking account. So Visa, PayPal, Venmo. So now we have a total of 4 accounts that we're going to be tracking. So we'll put that in. Okay, so that is moved that foundational information, donors and parameters. And remember, when you first opened the software, it said after you put in your donors and your parameters, come up here to the donation software and run the option to adjust the tabs from the parameters. Now, the one thing in the new version that I didn't have in the old one, I'll need to make sure I add that, would be the in-kind donations. In-kind donations that are up kind of up on the generic part of this. Use in-kind donations, yes or no. So we'll say yes, we want to use in-kind donations. And here's where you'll need to make the option of the selection as well. If you're going to be using the software for tracking donations only, then set that here. And then in both cases, this is one of those pinkish colored parameters. You have to run this adjust tabs from parameters again after modifying these. I'm going to go ahead and set this one back to donations and expenses just so I can show that functionality to you, copying our data from the prior version into here. So let's do the adjust tabs because that was a pinkish colored parameter. Okay, so now we have our in-kind donations as well as our expenses. Okay, great. Now we've made some changes. Let's save what we've done so far. This is a good time to save it. And this is the normal Excel save. You can also do File, Save. Both are the same functionality. Okay, so we've saved our changes. And now we need to just think about bringing over history, historical information. Again, this is where if I am starting a brand new year, the only history I care about are the year-end amounts. Now we're going to be modifying the annual tab, putting data in here from our older version. Now this is a protected tab. I am not allowed to type stuff in here or to copy and paste stuff into here until I unprotect that particular worksheet tab. So now I am allowed to type things. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to put in our annual amounts, our year-end totals. So we're going to come back here. Remember how we dropped that here? We dropped that here in our sheet 1 where we had our donor information. First thing we probably want to do, let's just take a look at our list of categories and make sure they are in the same order as we are using historically. If it's not the same order, you might need to move this around a little bit, right? So I can do a cut and then an insert cut cells, and I just switched my general admissions. Let's put it back again because our order is the same. General, missions, charity, same order. Okay, so let's take our years and we'll copy that. We'll paste it in the date. We're going to do paste value. Yeah, it's not going to like it. Oh my. That's because this is a date and it didn't like. Yeah, it didn't like that. Let's do it this way. Let's take those dates and we will drop them temporarily in the donor number. Okay, and let's just manually type this in. So year end is 12/31, and this will be 2024, 12/31 of 2023. And again, that's because this column is a true date column. So we need to put in a date. Okay, so that's our year-end date for 24, 23, 22. Okay, that was just to keep us oriented. And this will be our year-end amounts. Okay, and then we could just paste that in those. And now we just need the amounts. And we're going to do it again in small chunks. Our standard categories, our donation categories first, and then we'll worry about the specials and everything else. Okay, so now we need our categories that we're using. Paste values. And now we go pick up our specials or our specials and in-kind donations. And we just threw those off at the end, and we ignored the in-kind because in the older years we did not have any in-kinds, so we only brought over specials. So let's grab that, copy, over here, paste values. Okay, so that is what we need. Technically, we don't need this information here, the total amount, the year, but in row 6, I gave you a sample record, but in that sample, I actually gave you cell formulas that will calculate these items in columns AA through AE. So I would say probably what you'd go ahead and want to do is take, remember that square dot, copy this down to those year-end amounts, and it'll just fill in these things correctly. So the total, the year, the fiscal year, the month, and the month ID. All right. Now, again, if I'm going to start in January with the new 2025, this is the only history I need to bring over, year-end amounts. If I'm in a situation where, like in our case, it's the end of May or early June, and I do have history detail that I need to bring over, let's go do that. Now, again, I still want you to bring over for the prior years. I want you to bring over these year-end amounts only, but only for the current year. So for us, that's January through May of 2025. We want to bring over that detail. And if you remember, we created another tab here where we put the history in here. I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to say we're going to take it in small chunks. We're going to take the date through your donation categories. We're going to ignore all the stuff in the middle, the categories you're not using. So let's go ahead and do that same thing where we highlight all of the data out through your categories. Okay, so just the in our case January through May 2025, and we'll copy that over to our new version. Same thing, paste values. Okay, so that gives us our date, donor number, donor name, general missions, and charity, our three categories. We're going to skip over to our specials, or specials and in kind. Okay, so in this case we did have in-kind donations as well as specials. So we will start in column X. Let's go ahead and let's stop there. We have cell formulas to calculate totals in year. And depending on your version, the older versions would not have anything in there related to fiscal year. Let's just grab these numbers and we'll use the cell formulas just like we did on the year-end amounts. We'll use those for these details as well. All right, so let's again copy. In this case, we do have in-kind donations, so that's where we begin. Paste values, so that put our in-kind donations, our specials, and the name of our special or in-kind donation. All right, final thing we want to do, well, no, sorry, next to final. It's still not final, but let's again use these cell formulas. Drag it all the way down till we get to the end of our data that we pasted in here. Okay, it stops right there, row 120. And we let it calculate totals, fiscal year, or calendar year, fiscal year, and the months. Okay, so that has all of that data in there. What remains? Well, if we have any of the details, whether you're doing a cash, a check, EFT type amounts, or these comments. Now here's where, depending on how old your version is, you might have to be careful. You will definitely have cash and checks, but you may or may not have electronic fund transfer. You may or may not. You should have check numbers in there and possibly some comments, but you may have to do it in chunks, doing the check, cash and checks first, and then maybe skipping over to the EFT. But in my case, the columns do match up exactly: cash, checks, EFT, and then the check numbers and or comments. So we'll take that and move it over, again using the copy. Come over here, and again we're going to start here in row, in this case 10. That's the first place where we have our first detail donation, and we'll do the paste values. All right, so a quick confirmation. If we look at our report, we now have data for year 2025 in detail. Well, actually, sorry, our monthly totals, but we can see it reading the details and giving us monthly totals January down through May. So we have successfully moved the donation details over that we need. If we look at the 5-year report, we have that same information for year 2025, but we also then have it for prior years. Okay, so we have been successful in that. If you're using donations only, then you are then you're almost done. For most of you, you will be done. This would be a good time to save it. The only other thing I want to suggest, or at least ask you about, would be on your receipts and your reports. Are you using your church logo or your organization logo? Okay, so if you are, then you'll want to insert that again, just so that everything in the new year matches up with what you were doing previously. If you don't remember how to do that, let's see, did I miss anything? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we put data in here. We are done with putting data in here. Let's remember to protect this sheet, this worksheet tab again. So right click protect. Never ever ever put a password in. Just leave the check marks that are here as they are. Just hit the OK button. So now this worksheet tab is protected again. Okay, our receipts. If we want to put the church logo in here again, we will need to unprotect it. That's what gives us permission to add the logo. So as we did before in the annual tab, you right click, unprotect, and then I'd say kind of go over here somewhere on the side, and let's do our insert pictures, place over top of the cells and insert a picture from this device. So now it's just going to look at my local data where I can find a copy of our logo. Insert, and as is typical of inserting graphical images, it's there, but it's just the wrong size. That's just so common and typical. So what we want to do is just simply click and drag here and size it. How does that look? Still a little big. Let's make it a little bit smaller. I think that'll work. Drag it over here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so and you might want to do the same thing to your report. You'll probably need to make this a little bit wider, that row, and then drop it in there. You might want it on your 5-year report. Same thing. Make it a little bit wider before you drop it in. Yeah, up to you. Would you want to do that on your expense report? Would you want to add that to your balance report? If you do, again, follow the same concepts. At most, you might, you might need to make this row a little bit wider so there's room for your logo there, but pretty much easy to do. Okay, we will now go ahead and protect the worksheet tab again. Protect. Don't type anything in, just hit the OK. And we're ready to save the Excel file. Our master is now ready to go if you're doing donations only. If you're one of the churches or organizations that are also tracking expenses, then we'll need to come over here to the expense tab and add our expense detail from the current year. Again, if you're starting in January, then you're not going to bring any history over for the expenses and the expenses and income. You'll just start fresh in January. But if it's a situation where we're partway through the year and you need to bring that history over, then we'll go back to our file here, and we'll go to our tab where we put in the historical information. Okay, 2025, this is the very, very first time where we had this concept of the tracking of multiple bank or credit card type accounts. And so this is where we'll need you to add some information before you paste it in. So let's say this is our account, and yes, you can, if you want to be a little picky, you could certainly use Format Painter to make it look the same, but you're gonna have to go down through here manually. There's no other way to get around this. You're gonna have to put in your the account information. So deposits, which account did they go into? Into the credit card, into the checking account. Now I'm going to give you two options. You can come over here and you can just start typing it in here, but then you will need to make sure you exactly match the items you entered here. Same wording, same spelling, uppercase, lowercase, make it exactly the same. So you can do it here on this sheet, or maybe the trick we can use is put this information in first and then go down through it in the new version where we can actually use a drop down arrow to assign it. So let's try that trick. Either one would work. Put it in here and then copy it and paste it over, or to copy it and then assign the account later. So we'll try it that way. Copy on our expenses tab. Okay, this, we are not inserting the account number. We're going to start with the check number or deposit column, and we're going to do the right click, paste values. Okay, we will get this little pop-up from Microsoft. The table inserted rows in your worksheet. This may cause data in cells below to shift down. Well, we know that it was totally empty, so that's not a problem. So we just hit the OK button to say, yes, we understand that, thank you. And so now all of our information has been inserted, and all of the formatting has been applied. Cell formulas from the right-hand side have been applied. So here's the idea now is I can go back through one row at a time, and I can tell the software then for each of these transactions where did the data come from. So our deposits were going into our standard checking account. Our utilities were paid out of the checking account as well. Okay, and actually it's not till we get down here to our item here where we actually used a different account, where we used the PayPal account. So just so you know, you can then use the copy and you would use the normal paste, not the values, the normal paste. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. Paste values will work just as well. And then this is where we say, no, this one is using, this transaction is using PayPal. All right, and this is our transfer this is our transfer from the checking account, transferred into PayPal. And so from PayPal's perspective, it received a deposit of that same amount. Okay, so that's just simply moving the amount from the checking account over to PayPal to cover these things that we paid to those two missionaries. All right, and again, just work your way down through the rest of the transactions and set them accordingly. Final thing then, if you have history, you'll need to come over here to the balances, go back to your checking account, to your credit card account. Hopefully, if you're doing Venmo or PayPal or any of those Zelle, those kinds of things, hopefully they will have a zero balance as the year starts. If not, type in the correct balance. And so for the Visa, it had some transactions coming over, so it had a balance of $220, but it was a negative balance, right? Because we still owed them money when the year began. Checking account had a positive balance of okay, so you'll need to put in the correct opening balance for year 2025 so that it can now calculate the current balance based on the transactions that we assigned to it in the expense tab. And then if you are using the option where you are trying to calculate back to the credit card or bank statement, then you'll have the option over here to say on particular items. Let's see, these would be, let's take this as an example, our checking account. Okay, so then we have the option to say, hey, the items on May 18th are not showing up on our most recent statement, so we would mark those then as missing from the, in this case, the checking account statement. We have them recorded here, we know about them, but the bank does not yet know about these particular deposits. And so all that's doing then is helping us then to calculate our way to what should be a matching balance, tying back to the bank statement balance. This is our true current balance because we have incurred other payments or received deposits. So this is the true balance, but it doesn't match our bank statement. So this is a way to simply tie back to that using that missing option. Okay, well, those are the things I wanted to show you. I know it's kind of a detailed video, but if you're going to go through the steps, I just want you to know everything there is to know about migrating your data then from older versions into this new 2025 version. All right, I will continue to make videos to try to help you in your use of the software. Thank you.